Hello my dears and welcome back to my corner of the internet. I'm Shannon and today we have another book talk video to share with you guys. And today we are talking about Death in Her Hands by Ottessa Moshfegh. This book came out a few years ago, I believe. Let's see, 2020. And I'd heard about it for some time. I've also heard people talk about her other books, especially My Year of Rest and Relaxation, which I hope to read soon as well. But it was my turn to pick a book for mine and my friend Chris's podcast, THC Library. And this just came to mind because I'd heard so many people, like I said, talk about it. So I picked this. I just finished reading it. We're recording our podcast tomorrow night. So once that's available, I will tell you about it in a video and link you to it. But I also wanted to come and record a book talk about it because it was so interesting. And you can see here, maybe you can, all the tabs that I have in here. So many tabs. There's so much I want to talk about this book. And I can't wait to do it in the podcast because I'll get to like bounce my ideas off my friend and see what she thought. So anyway, but today I'm going to tell you about it. So since it's a book talk, it'll be the usual format. I'll tell you the gist of the story and then we'll get into spoilers. But I'll give you a warning, so if you don't want to hear the spoilers because you plan on reading it, you can click away. Anyway, the first part of this video is going to be short because there's not a lot to tell you about the story in general. First of all, the whole book's only 7 chapters long. The chapters are incredibly long, which I don't tend to love. I really love short chapters. But it works in this book because the entire thing, or almost the entire thing, is an internal stream of consciousness inside this one woman's mind. And it takes place over 3 days. So this book starts off, we meet a woman named Vesta, and right off the bat, she's out for a walk in the woods with her dog, Charlie, and she comes upon a note. And the note says, her name was Magda. Nobody will ever know who killed her. It wasn't me. Here's her dead body. And Vesta's like, what? First of all, she's 72. Let me tell you that. She's a widow. And she lives alone in this cabin with her dog in the forest. And now she's found this note. And there's no body. You know, the note says, here's her dead body. Where? It's not there. So she picks up this note and she takes it home. And from there, she begins to obsess about it. Obsess about it. It's all she thinks about day and night. Then throughout the story we get more information about her, and you know, through her internal thoughts we learn that she's a widow. Her husband died years ago, and after she sold the house she moved across the country all by herself at 71, because she's lived there a year. At 71 years of age, she just moves across the country with her dog and starts over. She has no kids. She has no family. She just decides to move. And I always wonder why she decided to move so far. It's never really addressed. Anyway, so that's the book. It's a woman who finds a note in the woods and she can't stop thinking about it. And it's like 250 pages of that. You're inside her mind. She's thinking about her past. She's thinking about what's going on presently. And she's thinking about this murder. And that's it. And from what I can tell, a lot of people don't like it. I did like it. I like things that are experimental and weird. And we'll get into that more once we get into the spoilers. But if you like those sorts of things, I'm trying to think of what I would compare it to. I don't even know. There's nothing really I can compare it to that I've read. And because of that alone, I mean, the writing is beautiful. She's clearly a very talented writer, and I can't wait, like I said, to read more from her. Maybe a bit in the vein of Mona Awad, though different, but I think that's the closest I could think of, like All's Well, Bunny, Rouge, things like that, but again, very different. So if that sounds like it would be something that is up your alley, definitely check it out. And if you've read more from Ottessa, let me know what your favorite was. I think she's got like 3 or 4 other books, and I want to know what to read next. So please leave your recommendations down below. But if you don't want any spoilers, now's the time to click out, because I'm going to share some theories, some things I think might be going on. And these are all just theories because it doesn't tell you. You kind of just come to your own conclusions. So if you hear what I think, if you think different, let me know, because I'm always happy to learn more about it and take other people's opinions into consideration. I love that. Anyway, here's what I think is going on. First of all, I think so when she's constantly obsessing about Magda, this girl who's been missing, she starts to invent stories in her mind about who this girl was. All in all, I feel like the entire book is sort of an allegory for the creative process in general and the act of writing a novel, because of the way she tries to build a world for this woman that she doesn't know. She gives names to the suspects who she thinks might have done it. It's a whole thing. And it's interesting to see the way that her mind works. Another thing to note about Vesta is that she's a very unlikable character, and a lot of people don't like reading books where they don't like the main character, which I totally get. But for me, I don't mind that. I don't mind that. You learn more about her in little pieces as she's like thinking of things. Like we learn that we learn through her telling us about exchanges with her husband that she had some mental health issues when he was alive that she was medicated for. I'm thinking like perhaps anxiety, paranoia, things like that. And then when he dies, she gets rid of the medication because she wants to feel the loss. She feels like she owes it to him to feel the pain of his death and not be numbed by the medication that she's taking. So as she's telling us the story of Magda, as she's inventing it in her mind, I think what she's actually doing is telling us her story in a way. Because this Magda, she's a young girl. She tells us this elaborate story about men she's involved with, where she's come from, what her family was like, what her friends were like. And I think in that way she's telling us about her life story. And the only other real main character in this book is Charlie, her dog. And at one point, she's out all day at the library trying to get more info for her murder mystery. And when she comes home, he's gone. And she's like, somebody must have had a key, open the door and let him out. But like, of course, that's not a thing. And she's becoming really paranoid and obsessive. And so it makes me think that the dog never existed. There's a scene at the end where she looks at the window and she's like, oh, Charlie's here. But the way she describes the animal she's seeing and the way she's described Charlie in the past, they don't align. So I think this is some sort of wild animal that she's mistaking as Charlie, who never existed. I think maybe one time she had the thought that she might like to get a dog, and then she just put that dog in her life, in her mind. The book's about grief, and it's about isolation. She's isolated. She has nobody to interact with aside from a dog that may or may not exist. It's about losing your grasp on reality, not knowing what's real and what's not. There's one part where she's looking for Charlie shortly after he goes missing, and she's walking on the road. She's having car trouble. She's walking on the road for miles. Eventually she gets to the driveway of her nearest neighbor. She faints. She wakes up inside their house. And I thought it was weird how they weren't really alarmed by her presence. Like, they were kind of like, can we help you? Like, what are you doing here? And Vesta's really acting like this is the first time she's interacted with them. But it makes you wonder, like, because of how, like she's passed out. They don't drive her home. They don't call an ambulance. It makes me wonder if maybe this has happened many times. If, like, maybe Charlie, the dog, often goes missing, and this isn't the first time she's shown up on their property. Something to think about for sure. And just overall, I enjoyed it. I like books where I don't know what's going on, where they're going. And just, there were so many things that she says that makes you understand that she's not telling us the truth, you know, an unreliable narrator, which I love. I love not knowing if I can believe you when you're the main character of a book. Also, we get to know more about her husband throughout the book. At first, there's a passage that I actually read out loud to my husband while crying because it was so beautiful about when he was dying, her husband, in the hospital. He had cancer, and it was just a beautiful passage about how, you know, she didn't want him to go, and she'd beg and plead with, you know, God or the universe, one more day, and then she'd be granted one more day until she wasn't. And just, it was a moving passage. But then as the book goes on, you come to know that he's just the worst, just terrible man. And that's sort of slowly revealed to you. And just in general, I found it very interesting. Like I said, a look at the creative process, perhaps. I feel like the author probably had fun writing this one. It definitely gives me those kind of vibes. And I definitely had a good time reading it. And there's going to be a whole podcast episode up on it, probably on Monday, I'm thinking. So this video will definitely be up before then. Anyway, again, let me know your favorite Ottessa novel, and what are your thoughts on the book if you've read it. I would love to know. And that's going to do it for me for today, I think. I've got a reading vlog coming up where we read Emma by Jane Austen. And I've got some great spoiler-free reviews and book talks coming up. So thank you guys so much again, as always, for watching. I appreciate you so much, more than you know. If you haven't subscribed, I hope you will. Give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you again real soon. Bye.